What's up, guys? This is Frankie from Bosque Mobile Bicycle Repair. Today I'm going to be talking about the problems or issues with e-bikes. What things you should consider before buying an e-bike, or maybe you already have that e-bike. Some potential problems. I'm not trying to be negative in this podcast. I'm just trying to be realistic. There's a lot of data that's coming out about e-bikes, and I want people to be concerned or cautious about e-bikes, electric bicycles. So this is what I'm going to be doing today, is going to be talking about them. I'm going to be kind of surfing the web and kind of showing you some news stories and some articles that I've been seeing, and just have people be more educated consumers before buying an electric bicycle. And just some things I've learned from working on e-bikes, because when I started my business in e-bikes, the bike boom was occurring, but also that the e-bike boom really took off. We started seeing e-bikes in America, a lot of them. They started to be more common, a more household name. E-bike, the word e-bike. I don't believe before we just called them electric bicycles. So seeing the history of in the making, these coming to America, these becoming more popular in America. They were more popular, I believe, in Europe and China before they were in America, because China is a very big manufacturer of everything, pretty much, that we use in America. And Europe is really close to China, so a lot of times they just get stuff more easier, and it's more cheaper. Transportation costs are less because China's right there. China's right by Europe, so it's not that far. They can probably train. I'm pretty sure that the Eastern Europe and France and what is it, Germany. They can get stuff from China for a lot less. In the UK, they still have to ship it over there, but it's not that far. The channel's not that far. But anyways, so I guess one of the first things I should talk about. Well, I actually rode an e-bike here today, so it's funny because I didn't want to drive to the studio. I didn't want to drive, and I had taken the light rail here, and then it's about, I wouldn't say it's a mile from the Union Station, but it's about say like half a mile. But I wanted to get here early, so I jumped on an e-bike. One of those share bikes, Lime bikes. Lime is the company here in Denver. So it also made a video. It's like one of my top videos on Facebook. A lot of people shared it. It's me just riding one of those shared electric bicycle companies, and it's Lime. But anyways, I paid for it and I jumped on it, but because I didn't want to take forever to get here, and then I just didn't want to be out of breath. But there's useful applications for e-bikes. For me personally, I think the most beneficial thing that e-bikes are doing is for commuters, people commuting, commuting to work, commuting to get supplies, groceries, people who may not have a car or don't want to use their cars there a lot, because there's a lot of issues with that, gas, and then just they don't want to bring their big car. But anyways, the big thing with these e-bikes I've noticed is the quality. In America, we're a throwaway society. That's our consuming habits, is buy it, if it breaks, throw it away. People don't really take the time to research a product, the company, the quality of the bicycle, and think about the repairs um, in the future. A lot of people just got into biking because of the bike boom. You know, it was a big hype. Everybody, they saw, one person saw somebody biking, and then everybody started biking, and it's just, people wanted to get outside and do some activity, safe activity because of COVID. This was, the COVID and the bike boom were intertwined, but some people weren't realized they weren't strong enough, so they just like, I'm gonna buy an e-bike, and they didn't think about, oh, I got to get it repaired. It's gonna break down. It's gonna get a flat. Maybe there's going to be some electrical issues. So you got to research. You got to do your research before you buy an e-bike. Is the company going to be around for a long time? Has it been around for a long time? Do they sell service parts? Do they have a lot of educational material to train you on how to repair that bike? Is there is the repair manual good? Does it look like it was translated very sloppily from Mandarin to English, or from another language to the English? So those are a lot of issues. The quality is just pretty bad. Big thing that was happening was fires. These lithium ion batteries were setting on fire, primarily from a lot of the lower end brands. I don't think these brands had their companies in America. Let me double check. So you could just go online and let's do a news story. Let me see here. I remember there was a YouTuber I watch. His name was Louis Rossman, and then I think he had like a conversion kit. I don't know if it was just solely an e-bike, but that thing set on fire. And good thing it was set on fire outside of his apartment, because he parked it. They had a bike rack there, and it was made out of brick. The building was, I think it was, outside brick. But this was early on, before the bike boom, before the e-bike boom. So yeah, there's a lot of issues with e-bikes. You can go and see, like, Consumer Reports is putting stuff out. A lot of news is coming out. This is nothing new. It's pretty prevalent. It's just about time that I make this video to warn people about it. Unfortunately, one of the biggest brands, the most reputable brands in America, Rad Power Bikes, they had a recall because one of their batteries set on fire. So the industry is still new. So there's not a lot of reputable companies that are making e-bikes. That companies that started just selling e-bikes. They're not. They're not. They haven't been around for a long time. So the industry is still new. The quality is still not there with these bicycles, unfortunately. I remember I bought a conversion kit way back in the day. Like, I'm talking about like 7 years ago or something. And the motor was good. It was a wheel with a motor built into it, and then you strap the battery, but the battery died. And then I tried contacting the company, and they're like, "Oh, we'll get it out to you." And they claim to be an American company, American-made company. Like, they're based in America, but they were lying about the everything being made in America. They bought, they bought the motors from America. They bought the batteries from America. So it took forever. It took a month. It did actually. I never got it, but I called them. I kept complaining. And after a month, I was like, "Where's the battery at?" And they were like, "We're waiting to get here from China." So I just canceled the order. This is before tariffs. This is before, the issues with the ports. But anyways, the quality's not there. Whenever you charge your electric bicycle, do not leave it unattended, and do not leave it charging past when it is, full. You can damage the battery if you just leave it plugged in for like a couple days, a day, 24 hours, 48 hours. You're going to damage the battery. The there's something called a little. There's a little regulator. There's a computer chip in there. Um, some manufacturers have a more advanced chip. It regulates the power going into the battery, because of course if that thing wasn't there, if you overcharge the battery, it'll explode. It'll set on fire. Um, I'm not an electrical engineer, but I've had associates who were electrical engineers, and one of the things they worry about when working with lithium ion batteries is that chip. They will buy, if they're making a project, um, they're going to use a quality, well-known, reputable brand regulating chip. Some of these batteries, there was a brand I worked on. It's probably on my YouTube or my Facebook or something like that. Um, Let me go in here. But anyways, it'll show you how many times the battery was charged and discharged, and if it was being serviced by the manufacturer. That's how advanced the some of these batteries can be. Um, and then it'll let the manufacturer know, like, hey, this is not worth fixing. There's probably not one cell that's dead in the battery. We're just going to replace the whole thing because it's been used this many times. It's been discharged and recharged so many times. But I was working on but yeah, don't never let it, charge unattended, and don't leave it plugged in for that long. Leave it only plugged in for what it needs to be charged. Keep an eye on it. But I wouldn't even charge, like I would store that battery outside of your house, or if you live in an apartment, store it on the balcony. A lot of apartment complexes are banning for their tenants for having electric bicycles in their units, because the potential of it setting on fire and then catching the other, of course, units on fire in the apartment complex. So it's becoming a very big issue in New York. It's predominantly in New York. In New York, in the northeastern part of America, is where a lot of these low grade, really sketchy e-bikes were being sold, and apartments were setting on fire. Um, Let me see if I go to the news. You see, it's like New York City Department of Transportation. So, like, a lot of New York is like leading the way with regulation and authority. The fire marshal's the big one who stepped in and was like, telling the cities, like, hey, you need to regulate this. We need to start having laws, making laws. Like, the fire marshal came in and cracked the whip in New York. I think a lot of the reason why they got a lot of batch of bad e-bikes is because they're on the East Coast. It's cheaper to probably ship stuff from China, across the Atlantic, versus, the West Coast or the Southwest where I live, the port of Los Angeles and everything, because you have to go through the Panama Canal. And, transporting stuff from the East Coast to here is expensive. So they can get a lot of that low-grade product, fresh from the docks in the East Coast, and then that's why they got a lot of those cheap bicycles, because they probably wouldn't, the transportation cost would probably cost more than what they would make selling them if they try to transport them on the West Coast in western cities and states. So that's why it's pretty obvious why they got a really bad batch. And then I think there's a large Chinese population over there. I know one of the bike shops over there that set on fire in New York. It was like it seemed Chinese owned, because they had like characters on there. But yeah, see, this one's a bad. Always double check these stories. Like, I'm not gonna assume that these are 100% correct. But what does it say? New York. A fire sparked by an e-bike battery killed a grandmother trapped by the blaze in the bathroom of a Queens pizzeria. Yeah, Yue Kui Sheng, 76. Sounds like a Chinese name. But oh man, that's horrible. Yeah, that's pretty dark. Didn't mean to pull that one up, but Yeah, the thing is, like a lithium ion battery in your laptop or your cell phone, it stores energy, right? And if that sets on fire, it's not going to be as extreme as an e-bike battery, because an e-bike battery is like, it holds enough energy to where if it were to like ignite in the most extreme way, it just shoots out flames like it. I've seen videos of it. People like it just smoking and stuff like that. So it's just scary. Like water doesn't put out lithium fires. Water does not. I think because lithium is a metal. That's a metal fire. I think even from the training I've done, because I've worked in industrial facilities. If you can't put water out on a metal fire because it'll just spread. It'll make it worse. So it's like I think you have to have like a class. There's class A, B, C fire extinguishers. So you gotta have like some kind of chemical powder fire extinguisher. But unfortunately, yeah, the biggest manufacturer, the most reputable manufacturer of e-bikes. I even liked working on their e-bikes was Rad Power Bikes, and they they um they have a recall. They have a recall. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But anyways, I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna so the topics I'm gonna be covering in here. I'll try to run through them. Is quality. These bicycles, I don't really think they're, you know, they're just, they're not really bicycles in my opinion. Most of them being sold to me, they're more mopeds. I don't really view e-bikes or electric bicycles as bicycles. I think of them as mopeds. They're they have a motor on them. They're not gas powered. They're yeah, they're basically, it has a motor. If it has a motor on it, it's pretty much a moped in my opinion. And you could look at the tires of most of the e-bikes being sold, and it says moped on it on the tire, because those tires are, I don't think they're rated for mopeds in my opinion, because I've felt the quality. They're pretty crappy quality. But the, uh, in the UK, the reason why they use those tires, especially, a lot of these manufacturers, is because in the UK they have regulations for mopeds and electric bikes that they have to have tires that are rated for mopeds. Um, that regulation is only in the UK, but in America we don't really have any regulations right now for manufacturer quality, and it's pretty scary because yeah, there's no standardization of quality. Oh, like DOT fluid, dot fluid, Department of Transportation brake fluid, DOT fluid. Um, in bicycles, like they use like dot two, dot three. That is the same fluid that they use in automobiles, DOT. And it's regulated by the Department of Transportation. Um, and so it doesn't matter what manufacturer makes it or what brand makes it. It has to meet the Department of Transportation uh, regulations and quality standards, and so it's supposed to be checked by third parties and DOT, Department of Transportation in America. So things like that is they have a lot of regulations similar to to that, motorized vehicles in UK that are applicable to electric bicycles. Um, let's see here. Yeah, Rad Power bikes. See, the thing that protects us mostly with bicycles and electric bicycles is the consumer protection, USPC. I think it's, hold on a second. Let me, CPSC, Consumer Protection, something stands for. So yeah, U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, CPSC. I've made videos about them, like just really short videos. Actually talked to a third-party private company here in America. I did an interview with them. I posted it on Facebook, but it's a pretty old one. But they do like quality control for private companies. Companies pay them to do the quality control, so it's a little biased. I think it might be biased, may or may not. But and then they store those quality ratings, I think, within the company, and I think they report it to the Consumer Product Safety Commission. So, oh crap! Wow. Actually, 30 fires related to rad power bikes. E-bike models RP1304 and HLRPS 1304. So yeah. Okay. Consumer CPA, consumer percent. So watch. You can just, you don't have to, in order to verify this information, you can protection. What is it? Consumer protection. CPSC. Sorry. So in America, but that organization is unfortunately doesn't really do anything. Doesn't do much, in my opinion, because of all the issues we have, and the they don't really have that much enforcement. They don't. The government doesn't spend that much money in enforcing product protection laws, because I mean, we always see something on the news. So unfortunately, our tax dollars don't go enough to protecting us. But yeah, this is the federal. It's a federal organization that's supposed to help us. Let me see, rad power bikes. Get it straight from the horse's mouth right here. Yep. For e-bikes due to fast risk of serious injury. So apparently that company, from what I heard, was it's a private company. Like it's a big company, but it's like, I thought it was like maybe part of a publicly traded company. Maybe it was owned by what is it called? What is it? Like BlackRock or something like that. What is it called? One of those really big companies, but apparently it's not. So they're talking about going bankrupt. And yeah. Oh wow. This is pretty. I remember the recall of this one. I worked on this bike right here a lot. This cargo bike, which is, a lot of people ride these. A lot of the parents are riding these ones and putting their kids on the back of them. So they got to wear helmets, this thing. See, the rim strip on the tires can be misaligned, causing the tube to pop and damage the tire. That's what I actually talk about in my top 10 reasons why cyclists get flats. I talk about the rim strip if it's misaligned. Additionally, the tires with the rib sidewall can unexpectedly go flat, risking serious injury from loss in control or crash. True. Especially if you got a lot of weight on the back, which with kids, that's why I get a little scared when I see people riding with kids. But I mean, commuting, I think that e-bikes are really applicable. The other thing, the issue with e-bikes, the quality, I've seen this with Rad, but it's more worse in that other brand. It's called Electric. It's the rear hub spacing. I really want to talk about that, because this makes it extremely difficult to remove the wheel of your e-bike, or put it and reinstall it. Actually, it's more difficult to reinstall it. So the rear hub spacing, it's like lock nut to lock. Okay, so it's basically how wide that rear part of the frame is, where you slide the axle in. And the spacing is also, it should be a little bit more than the lock nut to lock nut hub spacing on the rear wheel. Look this up. So, let me see here. Rear hub spacing on a bicycle. That's the Electric brand right here is the most horrible. I haven't worked on them in a while, but the rear hub spacing on like these bikes right here, these little tiny, these weird looking ones, were pretty bad. And see, this is the cheapest e-bike brand in America. This is like the second most popular brand in America is the Electric bikes. I don't think they're cheap for a reason. They have low quality. But yeah, I don't. The rear hub spacing it's a pain to put that rear wheel back on, and the lock nut to lock nut spacing it's super wide, so you got to kind of squish the frame, or when you're tightening the nuts, because the nuts on the axle, it squishes the frame, so it shouldn't. I mean, a little bit if it's like a millimeter or two, whatever. But nah, this is significant amount of spacing. I was gonna make a video on that, but it took me forever to fix that bike, so I just want to get out of there. But these are pretty. I don't like these bikes at all. Pretty low quality. I'm surprised these haven't had a CPSC um, a recall, but apparently, like the frame, a bad hub spacing is going to make it difficult to repair, but it's not going to set on fire, like set somebody's house on fire. So they probably put more R&D or quality control into their batteries than they do the frame or the overall of the bike. A lot of these are not even hydraulic brakes. I think that's probably. See this one. Is this like? That's another thing about these e-bikes is they're heavy. Like the heavy ones, the powerful ones, they should have hydraulic brakes because it's a moped. It's a moped, so it should have more braking power. Um, Cable brakes are good enough for a human, a regular bicycle, manual bicycle. You're not gonna have an issue. A lot of people think you have to have hydraulic brakes or they're better. Or to me, I don't like hydraulic brakes. For me personally, like I don't unless I was going down a mountain like 40 miles an hour. Yeah, probably I want some 40, 50 miles an hour doing some crazy stunts. Yeah, hydraulic brakes. But we've been without them for a long time on bicycles. I mean, unless you're a really heavy person, yeah, but maybe hydraulic brakes would be a good idea. But I'm talking about 300 pounds or more. But for a human, cable brakes are pretty good. They're good enough. My opinion. I use them all. I've done some crazy stuff riding. I don't recommend doing that. I got videos. The Albuquerque one about the Albuquerque trails. You could see videos of me going down a mountain pretty fast. That's cable brakes. They help stop me perfectly fine. I've done some, crazy stunts when I was young and a little older. Cable brakes are good, but with these e-bikes, these heavy ones, definitely need some hydraulic brakes. If it's a folding e-bike, they'll talk to you about these folding e-bikes. It doesn't really make sense to have a folding e-bike because you're gonna kink up the cables. A lot of times people damage the cables, they're breaking the shifting cables, and they're like, my brakes are messed up, my shifting's messed up. And then on top of that, well, if the cables are long enough, but the real big issue is if you have hydraulic brakes and you kink the cable, which is hard to do, but you can do it easily with a folding e-bike. These things are heavy. It's just difficult to repair hydraulic brakes. A whole line and then refill it with fluid. It's going to cost a lot of money, especially if it's an e-bike. Another thing about I'm going to jump into is like repairing e-bike. Well, quality. I think those are the main things with quality. Is like the brakes, hydraulic brakes. I should be writing this down. So the hydraulic brakes, them not having hydraulic brakes. Now there's some really really light e-bikes. There was a video I showed of me fixing flats on an e-bike in the snow. I think it was a Trek bike or something. That thing was light. Some older gentleman, he had paid me to repair that bike. He paid a lot of money to repair that bike because he was far away and he's up in the mountains basically in the mountains. But yeah, he that bike was light. But those bikes are not cheap. You're talking about $5,000. A lot of the high end bike companies make them like Trek, Specialized. They'll make like really high end bikes like that. The mountain bikes, they're heavy still. They're heavy still, but the high end bikes, you know. Another thing about because a lot of the high end companies they make the motor in the middle. Let me switch over. What is it? They put the motor in the so there's like a hub. They call it hub motors, and then they call them bottom bracket motors. I call them bottom bracket ones. or whatever they're called. I think they have a special name for them. Trek e-bike. So there's not really. You can have more handling control with it if you're more technical riding, I guess, with a motor in the hub because the weight is more central versus a rear hub motor. But it's not a safety issue. It's not a safety issue. I mean, unless you're probably doing some crazy stunts, mountain bike stunts, like yeah, you probably want to have a a motor in the middle in the hub. But I wouldn't be doing any crazy stunts with the e-bike because the thing's heavy and it falls on me. I'm like, a lot of these. That's what the other thing about the safety issue with these e-bikes is that people, the heavy ones, like these big ones with the fat tires, um, it's like a motorcycle. It's like it's moped. If that thing's heavy, if you fall over and that thing falls on you, it's gonna hurt more. It's gonna do some more damage. But yeah. Oh wow, they got a step through bike with a hub motor. That's something I haven't seen. Usually they put these hub, I call them the bottom bracket motors on road bikes, like really high end road bikes or mountain bikes. Not usually a recreational bicycle. Huh? That's odd. That's the first I've seen that. That one looks pretty nice. But see, the thing I'm talking about when I talk about like reputable manufacturers and making sure that they're gonna be around to have the repair parts or parts for that bicycle, that's you may not even what is it called, even if it is a reputable brand, they you can't trust them. There's not a guarantee. They're not going to guarantee you that they're going to have repair parts or service that bicycle um, in the future. Because I had met a couple, they're a pretty wealthy couple, and they bought these e-bikes used, and it was from Trek, and that that bike was old enough to be. It was before the boom, so any e-bike before the e-bike boom, and COVID was really expensive. So especially if it was a Trek. So I know that bike had been like probably at least 3,000, probably more. It was a recreational bicycle. I have videos of it. But what was I gonna say? But when they went to go take it to Trek to service, they're like, we don't have parts for that bike no more. We discontinued that model. They didn't even have them, I guess, repair parts in inventory, like outside whatever their main warehouse or whatever. So it basically was a bike. It was just a lot of these companies, they just make them, put them out there, and they have they don't intentionally want them to be repaired. They don't want them to be repaired for the future, or maybe they just don't. Well, they should plan for that. So there's not a lot of standardization in the e-bike industry. So you can't take parts from this other brand and put them on this brand. Not like a regular bicycle. I can use chains are pretty standardized. I can use a chain from different companies. And so that's why that's another issue with the repairability and quality of these e-bikes is there's no standardization with e-bikes. I can mostly with the electrical side. The mechanical side, it's a different story, but some things mechanical they're not standardized. The axles are different sizes. I've seen axles all different sizes. Some of them probably the same size as a motorcycle. I don't work on motorcycles. I don't work on motors, but what you call it? Yeah, I just they were pretty big axles. So let's see what else we want to talk about. So, like, I was going to go through some e-bikes. No, I don't want to. Oh, yeah, I forgot I can't view this without logging in. That's why I don't like social that much. Let me see. Facebook will let me get away. TikTok. 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 But yeah, that's a sad thing because there's a lot of e-bikes going into the trash. A lot of people are just like getting rid of them because they can't fix them, you know. And a lot of the e-bikes that you see on like Amazon or some third-party sellers or even just on their website are pump and dump schemes. They're just maybe they'll pay, you know, directly from China or some other European country. Maybe not, mostly from, you know, China. But you'll see somebody will buy, or maybe yeah, in America or a company here in America or Europe, they'll buy a batch of e-bikes, you know, from the factory and sell them. If they don't make any good money, they'll just you know, shut down the company, you know, and the company ghosts you. They don't give you they don't stock parts because they don't really care. They're just like, we're just gonna buy a bunch of e-bikes, throw them on Amazon or some third party seller website, try to sell them, and then shut down the business, sell out all the inventory. So that happens with just the regular bicycle industry. Is that you'll see a bike brand come along and you'll disappear, or they'll go bankrupt and sell to another company. So that's been I knew it was going to happen before it happened with e-bikes because it's on in the regular bike industry. So and people just bought them up, you know. So these e-bike companies, they just come, and even some guys in America, they'll start an e-bike company and they'll be like, oh, you know, it'll go bankrupt and they'll sell out. They'll just sell the company or close it down. So it's like this weird e-bike they made. It's like has very specific components or weird geometry, and it's just like they can't get parts for it. And even if you can't get parts for it, it might not be good quality. You have to be careful what you're buying online, especially when it comes to when it comes to the electric. You know, mechanical wise, like pedals are pedals. It's gonna have a 16th thread. Chains are chains. They're gonna have, you know, it's gonna have a 1/8 inch chain. You know, half-inch chain. You know, the single speed chain are 6 to 8 speed chain. You know, those things are easy. I repair the mechanical side of it. I don't do the electrical. I did have a company contact me and sent a bunch of the electrical components to the customer, but I just, what is it called? Just basically plug and play. Like it was the controller and I had to route the cables through the frame and then switch out the control panel and the throttle on the e-bike. So it was difficult because there were some issues. Just you had to fit that little thing in the frame, but I mean, I had help from the manufacturer, so I did it. That was an exception. But I get a lot of people asking me, "Can you fix this?" And you know, I'm like, I'm not an electronics person. And I do know how to solder stuff, but I don't. Yeah, I just don't want to touch it because I'm worried if that battery sets on fire, they're gonna blame me. I know they're gonna blame me, even if it's just like one wire that did connect to that wire and it just splits and then just solder it. And I'm just like, it's really scary right now. That's why some bike shops won't work on them. That's why part of the reason why bike shops don't work on them is because they're worried about that. Even if they just do the mechanical side of it, they're worried about that bicycle being stored in their shop. Because with the bike shop, they're like, "Oh, come back in 2 weeks or come back tomorrow," and that bike sets on fire in their shop. It's gonna set the whole shop on fire. So you can see online, like bike shops have set on fire. E-bike. Queens. Oh, this is the one. This is the one in the e-bike store in New York that set on fire. But they were selling e-bikes, and they were getting like them cheap ones. So Chinese e-bike fire epidemic. They don't want you to know. Yeah, burned down. See, e-bike shop goes up in flames. Yeah. See, yeah, the Hartford Insurance. I used to have that insurance, and they're like the biggest insurance company for bike shops. They are the, they will insure mobile bike shops too. Um, they they told me, they go, you're mobile, right? You take that bike home. They go, that e-bike. If you do work on e-bikes, I said, yeah. Do you touch the electrical components? I said, no, I just do the mechanical. They go, good. Don't touch the electrical, because if it sets on fire or something happens, we're not going to cover you. And then they said, yeah, if you had a bike shop and you stored those e-bikes, 'cause we're talking about regular bike shops, they go, nah, I think they wouldn't insure them. Or if they did insure them, the insurance is going to be through the roof. So the insurance companies are like telling bike shops, like, don't do this, but they got data. So if something does happen, they got the data. The insurance companies got a lot of data on what's going down with their clients. So they're like, yeah, it's crazy right now. With these e-bikes, a lot of bike shops are kind of pretty snobby. That's the reason why they don't work on them. It's because they're like, oh, I don't know that brand. I don't like that brand. That was before e-bikes. They just didn't want to work on certain brands of bikes. Because they don't care about money. They're rich kids or whatever. It's just a lifestyle business. It's just a shop they opened up to look cool. But the some bike shops will only sell the e-bikes that they work on. E-bikes that they sell are the brands that they sell. That's not always true, but that's another thing. Is because maybe they're not familiar with it. They don't have the manufacturer's repair guides, or the repair instructions from that manufacturer. The all the inside, the repair information, repair manuals, all that. They can contact the manufacturer and be like, hey, I need help fixing this bike. So that's why they only work on the bikes that they sell. But I've seen a lot of bike shops sell crappy brands, cheap brands. So I'm like, those bikes are horrible. And, I'm like, their shop could still set on fire from a lithium-ion battery fire. But yeah, there was one cheap e-bike brand. I found out reason why a lot of bike shops were selling it is because they were making 50% on that bicycle. From what I heard, I'm not going to say this is true. This is just what I heard. This hearsay. But electric bikes was very cheap. Electric bikes, you can make 50%. Like, you sell it for $1,000, you make $500 on it. I mean, that's before, taking into consideration overhead, insurance, taxes. That's why a lot of shops were selling electric, because it was they're really cheap, and you can mark them up. So, that's from what I heard from the grapevine. But and that's another issue with these e-bikes is, are the companies giving out repair information? Do they have it readily available on their websites, their social media? What is that? Is that? What time is it right now? Okay, we got time. Is that? I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, they are the manufacturers helping out, because that's how you could tell if that company's not going to be around for a long time. If it's just a pump and dump, if they don't have a lot of repair information, if they didn't take the time to write good repair information manuals, make videos, put it on their website. How do you fix this? How do you fix that? Because customers are gonna call up and be like, hey, I need help. So that's how you know if it's gonna be a good company or not. If you're going to spend $1,000 or $1,500 or $5,000, you want to buy something that's quality. It's going to last a long time, can be repaired. the manufacturer stands by it and be like, and explicitly states that, hey, we're gonna have repair parts, we're gonna service this bike, we're gonna, take care of you in the future. But unfortunately, I don't think I've seen any that have been that way, that have provided that um, to customers, which is unfortunate because I buy quality products. If I'm gonna spend a lot of money on something, I'm gonna make sure that I can fix it or get somebody to fix it, and they have access to repair parts, standardized repair parts for that product. Like I said, I ride a regular bicycle. I know I can get parts for that bike. It's nothing unique or fancy. There is unique, weird bicycles out there. You can't get repair parts from them because manufacturer discontinued the product. So with like Trek, they don't want, they probably, I'm not saying this is for sure, but they like people to come in the shop and trade in their bicycles. It's almost like a car salesman. They're like used car salesmen in there. Literally at that Trek shop. It's so commercial. It's so like, it's goofy, and every time, if you bought a Trek from them, or I don't know what their policy is really. I know people that work there. Used to know people that worked there. But like if you bought a bike from them, from that shop, and they'll try to upgrade you or try to resell you on a new bike. So you've been going, after 2 years, they're like, hey, trade in your bike for a more expensive bike, and we'll take off this much from the sales price because you traded in your old bike, and then they'll resell that old bike. So like that's probably why they didn't want to make repair parts for that older model electric bicycle, which was really expensive. Somebody's paid a lot of money for it because they want them to trade it in and get another bike from them. Keep them coming back, because you can't trade in that bike at anywhere else because they can't get repair parts. It can't be repaired. It can't be repair parts for it. So you got to bring it back to Trek and then get another one. But unfortunately, that couple, they bought it used, so I don't think they could get that deal they didn't have a warrant. I know for a fact they didn't have a warranty, or because if you buy a bike from Trek, they look you up. You can, I think I'm not saying for sure, but they can, you got like so many free repairs or discounted repairs if you bought it from them. But yeah, I seen it. Yeah. I met that dude at the Albuquerque one, the manager over there. And I knew somebody who was an employee there. Used to work at REI, but now he went over there. But yeah, Trek, I got my opinions about them. I don't really like them. I don't like them at all. But that manager was a snob. In Albuquerque. Call him out. But he's a little catty person. That's why I don't like bike shops much. But regulation. Oh yeah, regulation's a big one. Yeah, I think Denver just had a big controversial law. Let me see, Colorado. I think it was Colorado Parks. Colorado e-bike trail law. See, e-bike shot fires. Actually, let me see what kind of e-bike shot on. See, risk of serious injury, CPSC. You stop using batteries. I got that one pulled up. Yeah, electric bike safety tips. Yeah, this is. Let me see. Go to the news, because a lot of bike shops have been setting on fire. Fire in North Fork County, e-bike shop displaces residents and pets. lot of New York. See, that's another one. Yeah, this one. CPSE. Remember that, folks. A lot of companies don't got good quality control. You know, when you're making a product over there in China, you're supposed to be having a third party, somebody, or even somebody directly hired from the company, go over there and be in the factory testing out, doing measurements, checking the quality. Batch testing is called batch testing. I've worked in manufacturing a lot. Um, I've talked to the quality control guys. I've seen them run around, but not for making bicycles, but for other stuff. And that's that same bike shop, King Electric Hub. Yeah, that definitely sounds like Chinese name, like a King Electric Hub. But yeah, CPSC is pretty reputable. All you gotta do is type in stuff. Type in all the brands, and they're gonna have like recalls. All the big brands. See, truck recalls bicycles with coaster brake. Recalls Electra bicycle due to Electra e-bikes due to crash hazard. See, when you're pumping out a mass scale of bikes, you need to have more quality control. Um, this is reputable. This is a government website. This is not some like, I don't know, third party or some weirdo on the web. This is United States Consumer Product Safety. So yeah, a lot of the reason why stuff gets through them or through trades and customs, like unsafe stuff, is if it's shipped individually to people. So if you buy on Amazon or Temu or I think Wish is around or whatever, Alibaba. I like that name, Alibaba. But if it's just like one e-bike, they're not gonna check it to see if it meets CPSC or CPSC regulations. UL is an electric regulation. UL, United Laboratories, I believe. But if it's a whole container, they're gonna check. They're gonna check, a couple pieces of product or batch test it and see if it's safe for consumers. But if it's just a single e-bike, yeah, you know what I mean. They're not gonna check it. What was I gonna say? I was gonna check. Kind of fading off here. Need some water. But yeah, they got some pretty high-end e-bikes on there. Trek e-bike, MTB. Yeah, these things are no joke, eh? Don't you know, eh? Yeah, you're talking like 12,000. Oh, that's over 10 grand. Dang. That's a Yeti. See, a lot of the really high end stuff. You see, you're spending all this money and they're not even gonna have the parts in 5 years, couple years, probably. So, and then companies go bankrupt. Everybody's going bankrupt right now. So, yeah. Well, this one's like 3 grand. It's a Trek bike too. Marlin so you got a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't like the rear hub motor. I like the bottom bracket motor. And if you're just a recreational rider, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, like, really. I mean, yeah, if you're taking this down like some crazy trails, some really, technical riding, hard riding, then yeah, you want to, but not nothing wrong with the rear hub. They're strong. Check the warranties on these motors too, because some of them are not really good quality. But Fang is a big brand name in the e-bike industry, and they're reputable. I haven't heard any issues with them. I was working on an Aventon bike, and the rear hub motor got I guess damaged due to normal wear and tear. But they only had a 1-year warranty on it. So, and unfortunately, the lady who owned it, her rear hub, it broke, literally like right after the 12 months of owning it. She bought it directly from them. And I was felt so bad because I was like, oh, she called them up. I have a warranty on it, and they're like, it's only a 12-month warranty. I don't know if it was a Bafang motor. Sometimes they buy motors from Bafang and they don't put their logo on it. They put their logo on it. But the Aventon rear hub motor was crappy, and that was not too good. It was yeah. It only lasted a year. And she didn't even ride a lot. She rode to work and back probably 5 days a week, but she lived 2 miles away from her job. So she didn't put that much mileage on it. But yeah. So you could see on CPSC all kinds of stuff, you know. What brands? What's another big brand? Special is it special? No, Specialized owns Trek owns Specialized, right? We got Specialized. Let me talk about something else. Okay, but yeah, oh yeah, regulations. That's what we're gonna talk about. See, Specialized bike. What happened with this one? Due to fall hazard. Yeah, this thing's heavy. This thing looks heavy. Yeah, no, I'm good. Well, yeah. I mean, for commuting, I think e-bikes are like it's an awesome alternative. That's why I bought an e-bike conversion kit back in the day because I worked. What was it? I worked like 5 miles from work, and I rode my bike every day. But that was like in Phoenix, so. But it was just flat. So it wasn't that bad, but I didn't want to be like tired. But what was that? Oh yeah, Colorado. Yeah, let's check this out. Colorado. So a lot of regulation. See, in America, we're not really up to speed with regulation on e-bikes, especially with them being on trails, roads. What's legal or what's not. In the UK, it can't have a throttle because basically a moped or motorcycle. It has to be pedal assisted. And it can only go up to like probably 20 miles or 25 miles. Depends on the country in the UK. Or the European Union or EU or I don't know what's all going on over there. France. You got France, Switzerland, Norway. Germany, and UK. But that's where they kicked off earlier. They were more popular before America. E-bike trail law. So I think in Colorado they banned them on the trails, like on like Forest Service trails. Let's see what AI said. So we have different classes like class 1, class 2, class 3. Me, I'm just like it's a moped. It has a motor on it. I'm like see class 1 and class 2 e-bikes on most pass roads where bikes goes. See, and we got so many different laws. We have different land. We have BLM, Bureau of Land Management. We got Forest Service land. Then we got city laws, state laws, federal laws. With federal, we really don't have anything to regulate us, except for the CPSC, but that's just for quality standards, not like the speed of the bike or how fast it goes. People, they literally make bikes e-bikes that go 60 miles an hour, don't have a C-post. It looks like a moped, like an old school motorized moped, and they got pedals on it. And like, what the heck? What's the point of the pedals? They don't use them. Nobody uses. Everybody that I see riding them, they don't pedal. They just use the throttle. Even with the regular e-bikes, the lower classes, they don't even pedal. They just, zzz, and I'm like, okay, e-bike, moped, pedals. They literally come with. I worked on some that went 60. I think the one that I have a video online. See, they look like this. This is not a bicycle. That seat is not made for pedaling. You can't adjust your fit or anything on it. And these things, that thing has 2 batteries on it. And does it have 2 motors? Or no, does it just has a 1 rear hub motor? That's a motorcycle. That's not an e-bike. That's a motorcycle. That's a moped. But me, it's more like a motorcycle. Literally, I met this guy who was riding that on the trail, bike track, and it was like He goes, yeah, it goes up to 60 miles an hour. It had a big old headlight like on a chopper, and I'm just like, why you even go right on the roads, man? If you can go that fast, right on the roads. It's legally to do it. You know, if you can go that fast, you can go on the probably go on the freeway too. It's it goes that fast. So, different cities, different states have different laws. You know, even maybe that state doesn't have a law, the city may have a law. So, it's we don't know what's going on. Colorado e-bikes and electric coloradobikelaw.com. Oh wow, there's a whole website. Is it by the state of Colorado or is it just by somebody? History of e-bikes. Classified as an e-bike. Class 1 is pedal assist. Motor cuts out at 20 miles per hour. Is this touchscreen too? No, it's not touchscreen. Oh, I can do it, yeah. Okay, class 1, according to this website, always verify, I'm not saying this is correct. Let me see. Class 1 is a pedal assist motor that cuts out at 20 miles per hour. So you have to pedal in order for the motor to kick in, motor to go, but it cuts out. It doesn't go faster than 20 miles an hour. Me, personally, this is just my opinion. I don't think they should go above 15 miles an hour. 15 miles an hour. The humans can pedal 20 miles an hour, just if you're pretty strong. But most people, yeah, they're not going to be able to pedal that fast. But to be safe, I would just say 15. Class 2 e-bike is pedal assist or throttle motor cuts out at 20 miles per hour. So a class 2 e-bike, you can have a throttle on it and also the pedal assist. That's mostly what I see is like it has pedal assists and a throttle. Those are most of the e-bikes I'm seeing with the rear hub motor. But nobody uses the pedal assist. They use the throttle. Maybe they do use it, but yeah. Class 3 pedal assist motor cuts out at 28 miles per hour. 28 pedal assist motor cuts out. So it's just pedal assist? It doesn't have a throttle? Class 3 e-bikes must also have a speedometer. Oh, they gotta have a speedometer. Yeah, they all have. Most of them have speedometers. Maybe the real cheap ones don't. Yeah, the ones that don't go that fast are the cheaper bikes. They don't have no throttle on it. You could be going 50 miles an hour. You don't know it. You go right. The manufacturer doesn't care. They're like, we don't want you to know how fast you're going. Pedal assist throttle motor cuts out at 20. So it can go 28 miles per hour. That's a class 3. Anything above that, if there's nothing above that, then there has to be a moped or a motorcycle. Yeah, no, I've seen some that go 30 miles an hour easily or more. 40, like I said, that 40 miles an hour. Let's see if I can. I don't want to log into my social right on this computer, but let's see if I can get on Facebook or maybe go on YouTube. Probably YouTube. Yeah, let's go on YouTube. I don't know if I have it in a short on YouTube. Let me see here. So I'll show you that e-bike that went like 60 miles an hour. See, most of the bikes being sold, e-bikes being sold, are these fat bikes. These ones right here. These fat bikes with a rear hub motor. So an e-bike with a 3 to 4 inch wide tire with a rear hub. That's mostly, I mean, you could see my videos on my social. Like, that's mostly the e-bikes I'm working on. You got these ones. These ones are not that bad. Like, it's just a regular, it's not a fat bike tire. It has a rear hub motor. Oh, is this that's not an e-bike. My bad. Oh, this is just a regular Specialized. You got these ones with this bulky frame that the battery's part of. I don't like those because it's a pain to get that battery off. I try to take it off before I work on it. Um, yeah, I don't. Those bikes are heavy, real heavy. This dude had an expensive Yamaha e-bike. That was really nice. It didn't have full suspension, but it had front suspension. It had a bottom bracket motor. Yeah, and he had a $15 cable lock, which can easily be cut. It has nice components. Everything, the mechanicals is pretty much the same. It is the same for most of what I work on. It's the same as a regular bicycle. So that's why I fix them. But they're heavy, and they're more cumbersome. So that's why I charge more. I charge more. I jack my prices up on e-bikes. If somebody got money to spend over $1,000 or a couple thousand on a bike, I'm gonna charge you some money, some cash. But a lot of times with these e-bikes, the tires are just really bad quality. I just pulled it up and it shot me out of there. Did you see that? That's what they do. Anyways, the tires are horrible quality. The paper thin on those fat bikes, on the bikes with the like a 20, for example, the size 26-inch by 4-inch tires, 4-inch wide tires. They're like paper thin, and so you're riding, and I live in the Southwest, and people are just constantly getting flats. So that's why I sell Tannis Armor, and Tannis Armor is the best solution for those big tires. Even bicycles that are not e-bikes that have those tires are thin, and they could easily be punctured. But they don't sell puncture-resistant tires in that size because it would cost a lot of money. I'm pretty sure that's why they don't do it. Think about all the material. It's more material. But Tannis Armor is not that cheap either. I charge I think $150 right now for that and to install it. I should probably raise it, but yeah. So Tannis Armor has been selling crazy for that size tire, for fat bike tires, and then e-bikes. Most of the e-bikes being sold. See, this is me fixing a flat on an e-bike, fat bike tire. No joke. Some baby powder in there, make it easier. I always forget to do that sometimes. Make life harder on me. But what was I gonna say? I think this one, that electric shifting one, was. But yeah. Oh no, I don't have it on here. On this one. Yeah. So those tires are pretty bad. Anyways, I'm losing mine. So, yeah, there was one, that e-bike that had like a motor on it. So this bike shop was selling, this was in Albuquerque, this bike shop was selling this brand of e-bikes. I think that brand just only sold e-bikes. And so they had a class 3, or technically from what I'm seeing on here on the Colorado bike thing, it wasn't even a class. It was a motorcycle basically. But the manufacturers labeled it their class. So you got these manufacturers that are like, oh, this is a class, this is a class. That's the manufacturer's classification. But our country, our state, our city has different classes, different standards for what they call a class 1 e-bike. So anyways, this manufacturer had a class 4. I guess they called it a class 4 or class 3. I can't remember. I'm old. He didn't buy that bike from that bike shop, but it was the brand that they sold. The bike shop didn't sell that high of a class bicycle, and they didn't want to work on that class of bicycle because it was like a motorcycle or whatever, or maybe they had their bias against it. But he had bought it online, got it shipped to his house. I built it. No, he built it, I think, and then I think I just tuned it up or fixed a flat. I put in the Tannis. Yeah. And he took it to that bike shop. They're like, no, we're not going to work on it. It's a class 3. We're not going to work on that bike. And he's like, oh, okay. And so even though they sold that brand, they had all the repair information. They could contact the manufacturer directly. They didn't want to work on it. A lot of the reasons why bike shops won't work on these e-bikes is because of their ethics or their moral beliefs. Which I don't. They don't like them. They don't want to see them on the trails. They don't want to see them, um, on bike paths. Probably, um, it is dangerous when somebody's riding over 20 miles per hour on a trail. It's not good for pedestrians. Not good for anybody. But a lot of reasons why they didn't work on these e-bikes is because of their beliefs or their bias towards them. Me, I want to make some money, so I'm gonna work on them. Um, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, yeah. That's what I gotta say about that. But anyways, let's see what about these regulations. I'm bouncing back and forth. Oh yeah, pretty much everything's allowed on the road. I mean, if you're in the car road area. Well, Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes are allowed on all roadways that conventional cyclists can use, including bike lanes and protected bike lanes. Local municipalities have the right to make their own rules regarding what soft trails, hard surfaced bike paths, and single track e-cyclists can use. Yeah, there's different cities, different municipalities, e-bike scooters, those things are just. Yeah, I wanna go off and talk about that, but I don't got that much time. Let me see. The scooters are getting crazy. The scooters are there's no regulation on those. I don't think those things can go. I've seen them. Yeah, they can go 60 miles an hour. They can go probably more than that. There's people that I've seen videos of guys. People want me to work on those, and I have my yeah. A lot of times they don't even want to spend the money for me to work on them. If I want to switch a flat or switch the brake fluid on the hydraulic fluid on them, they don't have the money for it or they don't want to spend the money. And then a lot of these e-scooter I'll call them up and be like, do you fix all types of e-bikes or scooters, all brands? And they'll say no, we only fix our brands we sell. And so like those guys who are buying scooters, they have to fix them themselves. Nobody wants to work on them, which I don't blame them because I fixed the flat on one of them. I think two of them, but it's horrible. Rules of the road, bicyclecolorado.org. I want to see something straight from the Forest Service. Yeah, because I don't want to go to no third party website. Always check Forest Service. Let me see what we got here. In Colorado National Forest, USFS is the acronym. E-bike class 1 and 2 are generally treated as motorized vehicles, meaning they're restricted to roads, trails already open to motorized use, unlike BLM land where they often have broader access. Allowing them on non-motorized trails requires a local travel management plan. See, Forest Service is not not messing around, which is good because I like hiking. I don't really do a lot of mountain biking in Forest Service land. If I do mountain biking, it's going to be like in the foothills. But if I'm going deep in the woods, I'm going to go to hike, or, enjoy nature. But the Forest Service, yeah, I remember when this law came out. E-biking. Yeah, Forest Service is not playing around with these e-bikes. Under Forest Service National Travel Management Rule, e-bikes are classified as self-propelled motor vehicles. Under this classification, e-bikes are allowed where the travel management rule designation is roads open to all vehicles, trails open to all vehicles, trails open to vehicles 50 inches or less in width, trails open to motorcycles only. Yeah, Forest Service is not messing around in Colorado, and I think also across the country. They're treating e-bikes as a motorized, as a motorcycle, moped, whatever you want to call it, moped, motorcycle, dirt bike. That's the way I look at them. I don't really look at them as a bicycle. One thing I do want to touch on yeah, so that's the whole spiel about regulations. Yeah, we're really not caught up on laws. Like, we don't have these bikes don't have to have a certain quality of tire like they do in the EU, European Union, or UK. Um, Also, look into ISO, International Standards Organization. So they have a lot of information about that. Um, they're being targeted a lot towards seniors or older people, like 50 older, and also now kids, which is causing a lot of controversy amongst cyclists. A lot of older people are buying e-bikes. It's kind of like steroids without having to take a pill or inject anything in your body, but it's still dangerous because a lot of older people are getting injured, unfortunately. That's yeah, it's pretty sad. Somebody, a family member's friend, um, that my family member's friend just bought one, and then I think not even a month afterwards, he fell, hit his head, he got stitches, and a month after he bought the bike, because fell and got stitches, hit his head, he wasn't wearing a helmet, and yeah, he doesn't ride that e-bike no more. And now they're being targeted towards kids, which you know, I mean, I'm not telling you what to do, but the kids should have a helmet, and I don't think it's safe. But yeah, that's not too. It's getting very bad. Like I said, I don't know. If you're a kid, you shouldn't even. You have enough energy. You be running around the house, playing with toys. You should have enough energy to ride a regular bicycle. That's the whole point of being young. You can use your body. So yeah, let me see. Standardization, talked about that. Yeah, there's a lot of proprietary parts out there. So I know people thought, that I just have a stack of parts that I could just pull out of a bin, and it can go on any e-bike. And oh yeah, a lot of these error codes on the bikes, they're not standardized. People get mad at me like, oh, it shows error code is. I'm like, not, yeah, I don't know what brand it is. I don't. Just because it says that error code doesn't mean. It goes, oh, well, another bike shop said that their error code means this, and I'm like, well, then why didn't you take it to that bike shop? Weird. I've had customers that hire me and they live right next to a bike shop, like literally like a couple blocks away or a block away, and the bike shop won't. Yeah. Anyways, safety, people getting injured. Yep. Children are next. I don't. I mean, I'm not wishing anything negative. Yeah, bike shops don't want to repair it. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of liability in this, folks, right now. Especially now that when Rad Power Bikes, when I heard that their batteries were setting on fire, or they had a recall, that's just, yeah, that's when I was like, this is gonna get bad, because that was the most reputable brand. Like, yeah, there was some rear hub spacing issues with that brand, but it wasn't that critical. It wasn't that bad, hard to fix. But when I saw them, I was like, it's a pretty good looking brand. It's I liked them. If I was gonna buy an e-bike, it probably would have been from them. Um, yeah, that's unfortunate. Because they were the top brand in America, top selling, top most reputable. You go to like a lot of like high end, wealthy neighborhoods, and people would be riding that particular e-bike. And a lot of people hired me to fix that bike too. Yeah. Oh yeah, transporting these bicycles. Like, a lot of people think that, there's a lot of people buying them and they want to take them on the trails, but they live far away from the trails, so they're heavy. So they can't take them to the trail, or they don't have a good rack. You got to get literally like a motorcycle rack for your car or vehicle, a truck, if you can put it on there. So a lot of people aren't even thinking about this. So that's why they hired me. I'm mobile. But where I live, the other mobile guys didn't work on e-bikes. So I was the only one in town. This was in Albuquerque. Oh yeah, the overcharging. Yeah, there was a company. They were a rental company, and they did rentals for all the rentals were e-bikes. and it was from this one brand, and it was, I don't know if it's, I think it went out of bit, I think it went under, and somebody bought it too, but it was not a good brand, and they would leave those things charging for days, you know, and I told them, I said, don't do that, you know, charge them. Anyways, they ended up damaging the batteries. The batteries wouldn't charge or hold the charge. That there, and I talked to somebody who was a dealer, another person, a company that was a dealer of those bikes, and they said that the microcontroller in there, because I was like, why don't they take them to you to fix them? He goes, I don't want to work on them. They damaged all their batteries. The power controller inside of them, once you reach a certain so many charges and discharges from that battery, it will stop. It will kill the battery. It will stop. Discontinue it, because it, I guess it's a safe, might it be because of safety issues, or maybe, you know, planned obsolescence, you know, maybe it's not safe for you to use a battery that old or that has been used that much. But he's like, I don't want to work on them. Like, those guys, they didn't take care of their bikes, so I'm like, I don't want to mess with them. And he sold those bikes. But yeah, that's all I want to say about e-bikes. Check out my website, www.boylscademobilebicyclerepair.com. Let me pull it up. Yeah, this is my website. I'm on social media. Be safe out there, whatever you ride, you know, if it's an e-bike or not. But have a great ride, everybody. Thank you.